So welcome to episode 1 of the ManTFupPodcast with KimmyB.
And Lenny. I'm just sticking with Lenny. What else am I going to use?
Can we get a little government? Like,
I don't know. Salt and Pepper Says is one of my favorites.
Who gave you that name?
Come on. Listen.
Salt and Pepper Says.
Salt and Pepper Says.
Like, where does that come from?
It came from my crew that we have our meeting with every Tuesday because I'm the boss.
And you have salt and pepper hair?
Basically. It's the beard, I think, or the scruff.
All right. So are you calling yourself a silver fox 13 seconds into the first episode of the ManTFup Now podcast?
No, I'm basically a fucking dinosaur.
All right. We've also had Novotel It All, right?
Novell It All. But you were close.
Novell It All. All right.
Novell It All, but that's just what my friends call me.
But you're...
And they all call me that because they all call me to ask me fucking questions about stupid shit.
Do you think they really think you Novell It All?
I really think they do.
I don't know about that one.
And listen, if it's something that I've done in my life, I know a lot about it.
Okay.
And I've done a lot of shit in my life.
Well, that's the beauty of a podcast. We've got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to uncover all the shit that Lenny has done, right?
Dig.
There you go. Well, if you don't know what the ManTFup podcast is all about, let me give you a quick little description. All right. So if you've ever found yourself, wondering what the fuck happened to like the middle of the road, well, you found yourself in the right place. The ManTFup podcast is a no holds barred, dive right in and try. I emphasize on try, not to get your feelings hurt podcast for the truly unheard population, Lenny, the people in the middle, right?
Yeah, I'd say I'm in the middle.
Would you?
I wrote my name on the fucking ballot.
Well, like I said, we've got weeks and weeks and weeks to dig, right? If you're frustrated with political correctness, we feel you. If you are confused with all the pronoun talk, we got you. If you're over cancel culture, well, you will love the ManTFup Now squad, all right? And join us for our intentionally controversial and always somewhat offensive, at least to someone, conversations. No topic is off limits, and there is a quick little disclaimer, right? This is an equal opportunity offender kind of show. So pull up your big boy and big girl pants and get ready to...
Man the fuck up.
There you go. So, Lenny, you gave us a little bit of background, not very much. This is really your deal. You have a massive supplement company. One of your products is ManTFUp, like ManTFUp. It's a testosterone booster, right? But when you and I met, you were like, I want it to be bigger than this. Like, supplements are cool, but I'm frustrated and I'm ready to have some conversation. So why Man the Fuck Up and why now?
Well, yeah, that's an over-encompassing question. Mm-hmm. It's way too much to go into in one episode. That'll take us a fucking season, okay? Well, that goes without saying. It's the frustration of things changing without any thought of future ramifications, which we've talked about a little bit.
Yep.
We spent 12 hours just bullshitting and going back and forth, which is, I think, how we wound up on the couch here because, after the first hour, if you knew I wasn't going to be that conversation person, you would have been gone. But I have kids. I live in South Florida, which has basically been wide open throughout the whole pandemic. So we see things a little differently here, I think, for the most part. We have people way over here telling you one thing. We have people way over here. Wait, hold on 1 second.
This is a podcast, so way over here, the first arm went to the left, a.k.a. the blue, and then he stretched his other arm out, the right arm, which went way out to the other side. Don't pull a muscle, Len.
Easy. She's pushing me.
Don't pull a muscle, Len.
She's pigeonholing me.
Way out to the other side, which was the right side. So basically what you're saying is obviously like everywhere else in America, you've got your people really far to the left and then your people really far to the right.
Even here. I had 2 people at a Christmas party 2 years ago.
This is before COVID.
This is before COVID.
Yep.
But we had a Christmas party during COVID because we're in Florida. So it doesn't snow here, by the way, if anybody doesn't know that. So we had two people there during the election, Trump thumper, Hillary candidate, whatever, whoever. But, one is screaming here, one is crying over here. And it's like they basically couldn't be in the same room together, not even talking because of the energy they were putting out. So, like I said, I want to be in the middle, and I think there's a lot of people who want to be in the middle on a lot of topics, and not that everybody is going to agree across the board, because that's not going to happen. But I think more thought needs to go into the topics that are out there, and more thought needs to go into the results of these down the road for our country. I told you part of our research on this was watching the first episode of The Man Show. So the first episode of The Man Show, he calls out, that was 1999, by the way.
1999, yes.
In 1999, he calls out some shit that is clearly come true in 2020. So the people who were screaming back then, which how they got their voice back then, I don't know, because now everybody just speaks through a social media megaphone. Back then, these people made changes, and, you can't sit with your legs crossed anymore. It's not Indian style. Like,
you can.
90% of us grew up on Indian style. All of a sudden, it's crisscross applesauce. I think that started when my oldest was in kindergarten.
Is that really what?
And he's 25. Yeah, it's crisscross applesauce. And I'm like,
okay.
I mean, really, is there people out there in the Indian community, in the United States,
in the Native community,
no, I mean, is that what they're fighting about?
Hold on one second. Let's go back to that disclaimer this is an equal opportunity offender show, so just pull up those big boy and big girl pants.
Like I said, I'm a dinosaur. So is there really people out there in that community that are screaming over someone saying they're sitting Indian style? Because I think that would be cool, like a girl with braids in an outfit. If you call her Pocahontas, she's cute. It's like a...
Are you pulling the representation?
It's a cute thing. Listen, the people in this, the Native Americans have a lot of shit to be pissed about. They don't give two shits about how you sit and what you call it, okay? It's that simple.
How we're sitting when we're in a circle in kindergarten is probably not at the top of their list. I got you. Okay. So, like I said, a little backstory on Lenny. Lenny is an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He started off in the world of construction. He's been in Miami for forever. You were here in
I was actually born here.
The Scarface days. Yeah. Well, I mean, but being born somewhere and then actually growing up and experiencing somewhere are two different things. But like when we talk about it, like this is a South, like you have a very South Florida perspective in the sense of like we've talked about your experience in Miami. Like when people watch Scarface, it's like that shit ain't just a movie. That's real life. Like this is what this city is built on, like Miami.
It happened here, yes.
All right, so...
And there's a lot of different perspectives growing up in Miami, depending on which community you were in.
Yep.
There's a very prevalent Cuban community. They have one perspective, and then you have the rest of us. And then... but their streets, they get their own street numbers. So, but there's the rest of us, and that shit was real. That stuff, and the rest of the country didn't know it at that time. Now today somebody farts in Washington and it's all over social media. In 79 when there was a shooting at Dadeland, the only people that knew it were people in Dade County.
Well, and the irony of it all is the fact that Scarface is probably one of, the most classic Americana films of all time. But Al Pacino is far from a Cuban. You know what I'm saying? So if you tried to shoot Scarface today, you'd have somebody screaming about representation. Find a Cuban actor to film.
I'm sure they're going to cancel it shortly.
Well, the Cubans won't allow that to happen because at the end of the day, no matter what happens,
there's still machismo there.
Is always and forever a part of, that American experience. But I think that kind of is a testament to what you're talking about. When we talk about Man the Fuck Up, when we talk about the evolution of time, when we talk about just being able to, have an opinion and stand on that and have open dialogue, right? Like there are things that are a part of, our culture, whether it's South Florida, whether it's the state, whether it's the Southeast, whether it's the whole country. that people are trying to take away. And I think that that's frustrating a lot of people. Like, I'm on the other side of that. I spent 18 years in quote unquote mainstream media, which is like
so you're saying you're the problem.
Public enemy number one. And that's again.
Well, it's only public enemy number one to people like me who really.
No, but to say that though, there's a frustration there because, to your point, when we like to point out mainstream media, everybody uses it as their crutch when mainstream media doesn't agree with your point of view, with your POV, right? And I say that because I started off in quote unquote urban radio, right? I started off on a heritage hip hop brand where pretty much everybody was very like-minded. So when you're talking to your audience, it's a lot of rah-rah, right? And then I transitioned over to what we call in the business a top 40, a general market. So you're really talking to everybody. And that was when I started to realize that, everybody doesn't think like me. Okay, bet. Including my bosses, who had no problem censoring my Facebook, my Instagram, what I tried to say on the radio, because I was going to alienate my audience. Now, my audience on an urban station is different than my audience on a general market station. And by that, let's be honest. So on an urban station, when you're talking about people of color. You're talking about probably a younger, more progressive, city dynamic. And when you talk about general market, you're talking about white people. You're talking about, maybe a little bit less progressive.
Can we come up with another name than white people?
What would you like me to?
I don't know. I mean.
Yeah, people of color.
I mean, we're ethnic also.
You want me to call you red?
I don't know.
White?
Why a color?
But what
I mean, you didn't,
So
you didn't say
market,
black people. You said white people.
Well, because I said people of color, so I could have said black people, brown people, people in the middle.
Yeah, but
your daughter, your son.
yellow people don't listen to hip hop.
Yes, they do.
Not really.
Most definitely.
I mean,
out of your tree.
I think the Orientals.
Go watch Fast and Furious.
The Orientals are more. That's not hip hop.
What are you talking?
That's
about?
like electric. That's like That's
Have you been to Vegas?
Come
Ever?
on. You reference Fast and Furious, and that is not hip hop.
You called yourself a dinosaur. Tyrese would beg to differ with you.
Well, that was Fast and Furious 2.
And the rest of them, he's still a part of Fast and Furious 127.
I think they're on 9.
They're going to space. It's Fast and Furious 127 at this point. It's 8 too many. But whatever. We're not here to talk about Fast and Furious. My point is, when you talk about general market, you're talking about people on both sides of the quote-unquote aisle. So when I came from a hip-hop, I'll say a hip-hop and R&B background to a more general market, pop culture, top 40 culture, I had been taught to use my platform to speak out on the things that I believe in. So that changes, though, when your opinion might fluster some people's feathers.
Of course.
So I think that was where you and I really connected. It was kind of a place where you're not so far right and I'm not so far left that we can still find our way to the middle. But I want to be very clear in that the snowflakes don't only belong to the folks on the left.
No,
Because
absolutely
people
not.
on the right are just as quick to get offended when somebody doesn't agree with their radical beliefs.
Absolutely.
As the folks on the left. And I think that was where you and I really found this place where it was like, okay, there's a common ground. Let's have a conversation. And what I want to say checked on was like, hey, she'll lose her audience off of some screenshots from the 2016 presidential election. This was literally said. So it's 2016. I'm sitting literally on the floor. I've got a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue out. And I'm like, let's see what happens, folks, right? And so a couple of points in time, I got frustrated with what the pundits were saying. Oh, the polls got it wrong. And I was like, well, the polls can only get it as wrong as what people tell them. I said, the polls didn't get it wrong. People lied. People weren't comfortable saying who they were really going to vote with, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about. When you're when you don't want to deal with the backlash of your own personal opinion, what do? You lie, or you omit, or you just refrain from stating it all. So I was like, this isn't
Take the fifth.
Yeah, you plead the fifth, right? So I was like, the polls didn't get it wrong. People just weren't honest. Like, they didn't want to say who they were going to vote for. And then I think later on, there was somebody from like the Green Party or the Blue Party, whatever, some other third party. And I was like, you asshat. I was like, 4% matters right now. So these are all things that I'm typing on my personal Facebook page. Has nothing to do with my company. It's literally that I've had before I ever started working for the company I worked for. So obviously we all wake up the next day. Donald Trump is president. I go to work, professional. I'm handling my business. I didn't call out sick. I didn't have a fucking meltdown. I was, hey, listen, it's business as usual. We got to move on, right? America's America.
Yeah, that was yesterday. Today.
I got this guy for 4 years. Like, this is what it is, and I got to go back and do my job. My boss, like my program director, calls me into her office and it's like, yo, these screenshots were sent to me. And it came from my general manager, who had literally taken screenshots of my
male or female.
He was a guy, male. Had taken.
So is that someone we can reference as a bitch?
I think that's a bit of bitch assness for
Yes.
sure. So he screenshots my posts, forwards them to my program director because he's too much of a bitch ass to have the conversation with me himself, and says, hey, talk to Kim. She's going to alienate her audience. Mind you, I didn't say any of this on the air. I had said this on my personal Facebook page. So she, my boss, calls me into her office like, listen, I got this, blase blah. Like I said, I didn't get on and pitch a fit. I didn't cry. I didn't storm the Capitol. I didn't scream fraudulent election. I went on with my life. Like, hey, the people have spoken, and this is what it is.
You put your opinion out there. It wasn't that strong, and it was just,
But I knew at that moment, I was like, oh, wow. This exists on the other side too. So when we talk about feeling censored, when we talk about feeling, penalized for an opinion, it doesn't just skew one side of the aisle or the other, right? Like literally people in 2021 just don't want to be disagreed with. And
pretty much
fucking whack.
Yeah. Pussification of America. Yeah, we got that. The mainstream media narrative has been this way forever. It always has been.
What is that, though?
Look.
Because the mainstream media narrative, according to some people, would be, they only push the left.
I just saw, it's not that that's what media is doing now. Media is pushing left and right. But media in general has always influenced the people of America. Mm-hmm. All the way back from, I just watched a thing on the Statue of Liberty. Mm-hmm. So they ran out of funding to build the base for the Statue of Liberty. So Pulitzer says, listen, if you contribute, no matter how much it is, a penny, a dollar, or whatever, I'll put your name in the paper. So that's a perfect example of the mainstream media with an agenda. Uh-huh. Okay? This is, early 1900s? 1890, 1880, something, who knows? But it's an agenda.
That's like a GoFundMe.
Yes, basically. But it's an agenda that he did it for two reasons. Uh-huh. One was the circulation of his paper went nuts, and it became the most popular paper in the United States because everybody wanted their name in it. Mm-hmm. Even if you donated a penny, you got your name in it. So he did it as a business thing, but it's an agenda. And Hearst, same. He controlled whatever came out in the press. Mm-hmm. You watch the movie The Godfather. Oh, we could spin this story however we want to. Mm-hmm. So now, fast forward 100 years, there's factions of the press. Mm-hmm. So you watch one and you watch the other, and it's two totally different ends of the spectrum. There's no trust in the Larry Cronkites or the...
You mean Walter?
Walter, oh yeah. Who's the other one? Walter Cronkite. Thank
Larry King and Walter Cronkite.
Larry King, he was trusted, but that trust that our parents, well, at least my parents might have had in the 50s and 60s with the news, that they were getting really what was going on without some skewed editor or writer or owner putting their spin on it. The news. Where is the news gone? So that's how we're getting this far left and this far right, because there's no real news. That's why the middle is so important nowadays, because Richie, for instance, I come in the morning. he's got Fox News on listening to some fucking whack shit that I never even fucking heard of. And I'm like, dude, that's poison. And I would say the same thing to somebody listening to CNN.
NBC.
My in-laws come over, and the news is never on in our house. And within 5 minutes of being in our house, all of a sudden CNN's on 70 inches. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's all, it's all the same thing. It's a repeated agenda, and they're just drilling it. So when you have people who are listening to this and people who are listening to this, there can't be a middle. There's no middle for those people because they don't know that there's a middle. Does that make sense at all?
I mean, it does. But like I said, I think at some point you have to own your own accountability. And I think as people, we like to be right, just in general. And you have to be okay with being challenged, right?
Of course.
And that takes a different level of accountability, a different level of growth, a different level of awareness. I enjoy challenging conversations. So when my boss told me, basically, don't talk about these certain things, like I was literally told, don't talk about the presidency. The same way, like I said, this is episode 1. We have a ton of episodes to go. My point is, if you fast forward, what I don't appreciate is, as a person who believes in Black Lives Matter, BLM, that does not make me anti-police, right? I'm a huge proponent of the men and women who wear blue. I'm a huge proponent of any of our first responders. I love and appreciate our military on a daily basis. I also believe that our athletes should have the right to take a knee if they want to. It has nothing to do with our national anthem nor our military. And if you talk to people who have served, many of them will tell you that the reason why they signed up to fight was to protect the right to take a knee, no matter who it is.
Absolutely.
So what I don't like is being forced into that corner, right? Like if I say that I believe that Black Lives Matter and that we have a problem with systemic racism in America, right, that doesn't automatically make me anti law enforcement.
But
I hosted the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Law Enforcement Appreciation
It
Dinner.
doesn't make you that, but it makes you appear that. Just like I told you, my daughter wants to have her mask on because she thinks people are going to think she voted for Trump or she's a Trump supporter. It's the same thing. It's your opinion doesn't matter in mainstream anymore because you like this. And you feel that you're this, you're a supporter of BLM and you're a supporter of this. Now, all of a sudden, you can't be any of that other stuff in people's eyes.
Well, no, in those people's eyes. So
but yes, that's where we're at.
That's the point of Man the Fuck Up.
That's the point of Man the Fuck
And
Up.
with Man the Fuck Up, basically, it's
I'm not giving up my guns.
You don't have to give up your gun. Nobody wants your goddamn
Exactly.
Guns.
Exactly. But I'm also not overturning Roe versus Wade. It's
you also believe in background checks.
Absolutely. I think it should be difficult to get a gun, but I think you have the right. Yes, I think you have the right to own them
once you pass that test. I
That's
got
it.
you. So anyway, if you were wondering what you're going to expect from, this Man the Fuck Up podcast, it's conversations like this with everyday people, business people, also athletes, entertainers. We live in South Florida. Lenny and I have a few friends.
We're going to march their asses through here and shred them.
But and we're going to talk about, beyond the political. I think a lot of people can relate to being frustrated with their Facebook feed. I think a lot of people can understand or, again, can feel like the holidays are.
And don't worry,
up.
guys, we're going to touch on bitches too, and not just the kind that you work for.
He was referring to dogs, just so you know, ladies, in case you were listening. Really? That's what we're going to
Well, I don't want to alienate. I don't want to alienate my peeps.
That's what we're going to call them, bitches.
Lovely ladies.
Are you going to grab them by the pussy too?
If the shoe fits.
Okay, you know what? I set him up for that one. We can. Nestor, please edit that out.
We're gonna speak to women in business. We're gonna speak to women who might use their bodies for business. We're gonna speak to the female population, however they want to be called.
That I said just alienate the female population, though.
No, I'm the one who alienate them. With the generalization of bitches,
Here's the thing: Lenny's sitting here with a female co-host, which is absolutely incredible. I think that the conversations are going to be dynamic. I can't wait to put people in the hot seat. I can't wait to ask them questions. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments. We would love to use your insight and your, you know.
And you can email us at info@ManTFupTV.com.
Is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. Or better yet, you could email them to KimmyB at ManTFupTV.com. TV, ManTFupTV.com.
Okay.
Yeah, ManTFupTV.com.
But no, I
KimmyB.
think that all of us are ready to find a place, like I said, in the middle. Because to your point, Lenny, when you talk about your guns and when we talk about, you know, even, like I said, law enforcement and Black Lives Matter, like I understand, or at least I can appreciate the commitment that our men and women in blue make every single day when they put that uniform on, right? And they head into places here just in South Florida, whether it's Liberty City, North Miami, if it's Deerfield, if it's Davie, wherever it is.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's a commitment to protect and serve. Do we deserve to hold them to a higher standard when it comes to doing their job? I do believe that as well. You know what I'm saying? But
I think we should pay them more.
Again, that's a whole other conversation, and I'm with you on that one. Just like I think we should pay teachers more. But the point is, just because you believe one thing doesn't automatically mean that you don't believe in something else. And I think that that really is the point when we talk about manning the fuck up. It's being able to stand in your truth and own the diversity of your opinions, right? And Lenny and the team here, let me just say this. I have never been so blown by a team of dudes in my life. Like I walked in, I told you guys when we started this podcast, I started off in urban radio. I also did general market radio. This is a team of predominantly white. There's one Latino man. Well, no, are there two? Is Richie? No, Richie's Mediterranean.
Richie's
Nestor
great.
is Latino. He's from Venezuela. But beyond that, it's a predominantly white male. The most targeted demographic in America right now.
We have Angelique too, but yeah.
And Angelique. But I was calling you guys enigmas. Like all, like throughout the entire day because again, you can look at somebody and you can assume to know them by one opinion that they make.
First of all, one of our white Americans is married to a Haitian lady.
Yep.
You know, so it's we're getting stereotyped because we're white, right?
There's many reasons.
But yeah,
like the
but
guy that you're
we're the
talking about
targets.
is married to a Haitian, but also voted for Trump. But he believes in therapy, and he thinks that men 100% should seek out, you know, mental health help. Would you ever in your life think that a Trump voter would encourage men to seek out men? No, but that is in a nutshell what Man the Fuck Up is about. It's basically stop judging a book by its cover, allow people to stand in their truth. And I think if you give people the platform to argue their point, that is truly manning the fuck up.
Listen, this country was not built by the left and the right. This country was built on the middle.
By immigrants.
It was built, it was completely built by immigrants. That's great. But it was built on middle ground. You can't have a democracy without middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's just the way it is. So if the people in the middle don't start claiming the middle, it's going to go away. And that's what Man the Fuck Up is about.
Well, I love it. And I'm excited for these conversations. I think they're going to be incredible. Like I said, a true bunch of enigmas just in the building where we shoot this podcast alone. Don't judge a book by its cover. If you're ready for some uncomfortable conversations, if you're ready to have your patience tried, if you're ready to be screaming at your radios, at your iPhones, at whatever, you know, device you're listening to this podcast on, Man the Fuck Up is definitely for you. And again, the avenues are always open for you to express yourselves. You can email, you can comment. We're on social media. If you have any questions, if you think there's something or a topic that you would love to hear us talk about, we're definitely here for that as well. Really, it's just a place for people who are ready to get back to having real conversations, hearing other people's perspectives, you know, entertaining the other point of view. It's not about changing your mind, but it's about hearing each other out. Because I think that is what we've really gotten away from. It's that, you know, people aren't going to Thanksgiving dinner. Because they don't want to, because they can't man the fuck up.
You don't have to tell me. My table is going to be, yeah, it's one fucking less turkey I got to cook this year, but that's just the way it is. And they're people I love.
We want to cook the turkeys. We want to cook the turkeys. We want to have the conversations.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Well, who is this episode brought to you by? How about Man Ponds?
Man Ponds.
Man Ponds. And you could send that bitch to the store to get them for you.
Okay. That could be your man, just so you know.
Uh-huh. So you got a little taste of me and Kimmy.
Pause.
She's losing it a little over there.
Not losing it at all.
Maybe just a little. So that was just a taste of us. The show is going to hit a lot of topics, from relationships to motorsports to athletes to whoever we can get to come sit down in that chair right there so we can tear them up.
The board in front of me says health, motorsports, and bitches, just to be clear. So, like I said in the intro, no topic off limits. Our guests will include, Joe Schmo, the everyday guy, businessmen, athletes, entertainers, business women.
Strippers.
Sure.
Porn stars.
Support the naked hustle here at Man the Fuck Up.
Listen, if you got it, use it. That's rule number 1. If you got it, use it.
That's part of the reason why we even have a platform. I'm just saying. Like, at the end of the day, we're going to have some incredible conversations. We would absolutely love for you to be a part of them. If you have any topics or questions you would like for us to touch on, you can, again, email KimmyB at ManTFupTV.com. Is that what that is?
That's it.
Look at that. Or you can email Lenny.
Yeah, I don't even know what my email is.
Typical man.
You know.
Just stick to KimmyB at ManTFupTV.com. We will make sure your questions make it on to the podcast. Again, this is episode 1. I'm really excited for episode 2. We're just trying to find a place somewhere in the middle of the road, right?
That's all.
That's it.
We just want to bring people together. We want to spread the love.
Do you really? What kind of love are you trying to spread?
I ain't trying to spread no love. No, I just want people in the middle, and I want people to understand that no matter who their friend voted for or what side they took on this or what side they took on that they're still your friend. Mm-hmm. And you guys had something in common before, and that didn't go away.
100%. 100. Lenny, you know what? Under normal circumstances, if it was just a left or right kind of thing, you and I would not be able to coexist.
Probably not.
But with the Man the Fuck Up podcast, we found this happy place in the middle.
We still have 2 cushions between us.
There's a lot. There's a lot in between us, to be quite honest. And that's probably a good thing. I think
it's going to stay there.
Safety issues that has to do with.
Don't give her a gun.
The crew and everybody else. But no, I mean, this is really just a safe space. I hate to say that because I know some people say, man, the fuck up. But no, it's a safe space to have honest, open dialogue about whatever the fuck is on your mind.
Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be crazy, pumped up stuff. I mean, we can talk about relationships.
Who's better drivers?
Men
or women?
Yeah, well, why would you ask a dumb question like that?
Okay, you know what? Listen,
you already know the fucking answer to that.
For episode 2 next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Yeah, women, but that's okay. Anyway,
yeah, okay.
It's the Man the Fuck Up podcast on Man the Fuck Up TV.
Have a good day.